Elon Musk stunned as millionaire black homeless man chooses his new stepmom amid Donald Trump drama. The headline blinked like fireworks on every screen. Elon Musk stunned as millionaire black homeless man chooses his new stepmom amid Donald Trump drama. What the hell was going on? Rumors swirling so fast you could barely catch a breath. The internet was exploding with wild theories. A masked figure showing up at a billionaire gala, rubbing shoulders with the richest. And the question burning in everyone's mind: who was this mysterious black homeless man? In the middle of glitter, flashing cameras, and the city's most expensive champagne, the richest kid on the block, Lucas, stood frozen. You couldn't miss him. Sharp suit, a golden watch catching the dim light like a tiny sun. His jaw clenched tight. But behind that perfect smile and eyes icy like steel, something was breaking inside. Because this wasn't the night Lucas imagined. Not with his family's name already drowning. His coat worn thin, face etched with late nights and hard truths. No one would have guessed this rough, weather-beaten man once shared the same dreams as the golden heir. Except Lucas. In that instant, no luxury, no crowds. Just two broken souls locked in a glance that shouted secrets. The whole place seemed to hush as Lucas approached, heart pounding like a drum in a silent room. His mother, ruthless as ever, sat perched like a hawk, eyes sharp and unforgiving. To her, prestige was everything. Family honor was a fortress she'd defend at any cost, even if it meant burying the truth. She hissed warnings beneath her breath, but Lucas barely heard. David's voice cut through it all, low and steady, carrying a secret heavy enough to shatter worlds. "What you think you know about your father, it's a lie," David whispered, eyes burning. The words hit Lucas like a fist. His hand trembled, and for a moment, the polished floors, sparkling gowns, and flashing bulbs faded into shadows. Whispers rose around them. "Did you hear about the scandal? How can the family survive this?" Tie to illegal deals with offshore accounts. The crowd's murmurs slapped him in the face, a swarm of venom coating his skin. Nothing was safe anymore. Not the fortune, not the name, not even his own reflection. Lucas's chest tightened. The past tangled like dark vines, pulling him deeper into a maze where every step could unravel everything. David's eyes held something else too. A promise, a warning, maybe even a plea. And just before the gala exploded into chaos, amid tight smiles and strained laughter, Lucas's phone vibrated cold against his skin. A message, simple, cryptic. "There's more. Worse. Meet me where it all began." His breath hitched. Who was this man, really? What nightmare was waiting for Lucas in the shadows of his family's twisted story? The night was far from over. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lucas stared at his phone, breath hitching. His pulse thundered in his ears, a chaotic symphony overshadowing the glitz around him. The words flashed repeatedly in his mind like a warning sign, breaking through the haze. There's more. Worse. Meet me where it all began. The gala around him pulsed with laughter and clinking glasses, an extravagant facade hiding the roiling chaos underneath. The air thickened, tension crackling like static. David remained rooted, eyes imploring. Before Lucas could respond, a deafening crash ripped through the opulence, silencing the crowd. Everyone whipped around, eyes wide in shock. A heavy glass chandelier that once gleamed overhead had shattered on the dance floor. Crystal shards rained like deadly confetti, sparkling ominously on the marbled surface. Women shrieked, men shouted, and the chaos exploded. In the corner of his vision, Luca saw his mother's face drain of color, panic flickering in her hawk-like eyes. She shot to her feet, pointing wildly as if trying to direct the disarray. "Security, get out!" But it was too late. Amid the pandemonium, David stepped forward, shoving a tattered envelope into Lucas's shaking hand. "You need this," he urged, urgency lacing every syllable. Lucas glanced down, a mix of confusion and fear swirling in his gut. He opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph. The image shocked him to the core. It was his father, unmistakably smiling, but not alone. Surrounding him were men dressed in business suits, their faces obscured by shadow. And at the center, grinning like he belonged, stood David. Lucas felt like ice gripped his heart. The room began to tilt, and murmurs rippled through the crowd. What does it mean? Eyes darted toward Lucas, seeking answers, their expressions tinged with alarm and fascination. Could this man, so close to his father, be hiding something explosive? Before he could process, David grabbed Lucas's arm, pulling him aside. "You need to listen," he insisted, urgency overpowering the panic swirling around them. "It's all tied to your father. The money, the lies. It's not just about the past, Lucas. It's now." The crowd thinned around them, absorbed by the chaos, and they found a small corner away from prying eyes. The shattering of glass echoed in the distance, a haunting reminder of their fragile reality. Lucas's heart raced. "What are you saying?" David's eyes were fiercely intense, full of secrets and desperation. "I can prove it. Your family is at the center of it all, not merely tangled in the mess. Your father made it happen. He's not who you think he is." A deep unease twisted in Lucas's chest, but before he could respond, another figure emerged from the shadows, scanning the scene with cold determination. It was a woman, dressed sharply in black, her features sharp, almost predatory. Lucas's breath caught as recognition flooded his veins. "No, it can't be." The crowd parted, and Lucas's mother, previously so composed, now wore horror on her face as she locked eyes with the newcomer. Panic surged. "What are you doing here?" she spat, voice shaky. "Just came to clean up the mess," the woman said, voice smooth, yet coated with something sinister. "Seems our family ties run deeper than expected." The pieces fell together in Lucas's mind. Danger, betrayal, confusion, and the truth felt heavier than the falling shards around him. The world swirled as reality blurred. David and Lucas's mother exchanged a look, And in that frozen moment, Lucas realized everything around him was a lie. What darkness lay beneath? What secrets bubbled to the surface? The night, once full of celebration, now teetered on the brink of destruction. His mind spun, and the urgency of the moment pressed down like a weight. Outside those manicured walls, something deadly lurked, just waiting to break free. Lucas's heart raced as the message flickered on his screen. The gala, the noise, the people, all of it faded into the background. What did David mean by where it all began? What truth lay hidden behind the shadows of their encounter? Before he could think, Lucas stepped away from the crowd, pushing through clusters of guests, all pastel gowns and stark tuxedos, oblivious to the storm brewing within him. Each step felt heavier, a pull towards the mystery beckoning him. Focused on navigating the maze of elite extravagance, he felt the weight of his mother's hawk-like gaze follow him like a predator watching its prey. Outside, fresh air hit his face like a slap, grounding him for a moment. He looked around. The parking lot was nearly empty. The noise of the crowd drifted into a distant hum. Lucas's breath quickened, but so did his resolve. He couldn't ignore this. Not now. "Where did it all begin?" he murmured under his breath, emotions swirling inside him. David had said it urgently, like the words held the power to tip the world off its axis. He pulled up directions on his phone. The location blinked back at him. An old diner on the outskirts of town. The place was a relic, a faded sign and cracked tile floors, but it felt like the only map for the tangled path ahead. Lucas clenches his fists, feeling the adrenalina starten a harden into algo como anger. The ties to his family's past were about to dry up. Just as he was about to get into the car, a sudden scream shattered the stillness. "Help! Somebody help!" Lucas torna en empujar en las calles, manos cubiertas de sangre. Era David, su cari plácida y trembla, ojos con temor y desesperación. Sus cintas fuertes. The fabric clinging to him like a second skin. "What happened?" Lucas shouted, moving toward him. "David!" But David was already collapsing, and Lucas caught him just as he hit the ground. "They know," David gasped, breaths short and sharp. "They know the truth." Then Lucas heard it, sirens in the distance, growing louder, racing towards them. Panic gripped his chest, a cold, clawing fear. What was happening? What truth? He begged, shaking David slightly, urging him to focus. "Tell me!" But before David could answer, chaos erupted at the far end of the parking lot. Figures emerged from the shadows, men in dark suits, faces obscured. They moved with purpose, a sinister aura around them that dripped with tension. "Run!" David rasped, his voice cracking. "They're coming for you too!" But Lucas couldn't move. He felt frozen in time, an anchor lost at sea. The shimmering lights from the gala felt 1,000,000 miles away now, their glitter shadowed by the dread building around him. In that instant, it hit him, the twisted threads connecting David, his family, the scandal. Everything was linked, and he was at the center. The headlights of the approaching vehicles flooded the lot, pouring light like a spotlight. In the chaos, Lucas caught a glimpse of something unexpected. His mother, stepping from a sleek black SUV, a smug smile dancing on her lips. Heart racing, he realized the impossible. She was part of this. The world, the lies, it was all coming apart. "Lucas, please," David's weak voice pleaded. "You have to trust me." "Trust you?" Lucas shot back, a mix of anger and fear flooding through him. "You're the one." But he couldn't finish. The evening's facade shattered as his mother laughed, a sound that echoed under the weight of his confused emotions. "You think you can escape this, Lucas?" she called out, her voice dripping with disdain. Time stopped, and Lucas stood rooted in disbelief. How deep did this betrayal go? What had he been raised to believe? The siren screamed louder, and the dangerous truth hung thick in the air. Lucas had to decide, stay with David in this mess, or confront the woman he'd always called mother. But in the unraveling, he felt the first tremor of change, a decision that would redefine everything. The night was just beginning. Lucas stood frozen, his heart racing, mouth dry. His mother's laughter hung in the air, thick with mockery. It pierced through the chaos, a vivid reminder of the betrayal he was wrestling with. The very woman who raised him, now revealed as part of his family's dark web. "Mom, what do you mean?" he called out, the words slipping from his throat before he could stop them. Doubt clawed at him. The sirens wailed in the distance, a grim symphony heralding doom. David, still gasping on the ground, locked eyes with Lucas. "You have to leave, now!" But Lucas was rooted, heart pounding against his ribcage like it wanted to escape. "You knew all along, didn't you?" "Enough!" his mother snapped, stepping closer, her demeanor shifting. The predatory smile faded, replaced by a cold glare. "You have no idea what you're playing with." Before Lucas could piece together her words, a sudden crack split the night. A gunshot, sharp and searing. Everything froze. Time suspended in a heartbeat, and then a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. David fell limp, breath hitching in a strangled gasp. Blood seeped from his side, pooling on the asphalt in a dark halo. Lucas's heart plummeted. "No! No, no, no!" Panic flooded the parking lot. Guests screamed, some running toward the safety of their cars. Others were too stunned to act. Lucas could only stare, helpless, as David's life ebbed away on the ground. "Why?" Lucas screamed, the anguish cutting through him like a knife. "Why would you do this?" He turned to his mother, the world narrowing down to her face, painted with a mix of fear and resolve. "You don't understand, Lucas," she shouted back, eyes wild, a pained mask covering her carefully curated facade. He was going to ruin everything. "By telling me the truth?" Dread pooled in his gut. This was not the woman he had known. Who was she, really? As his body screamed to run, something in him hardened. "You killed him." "No," she yelled, but the panic in her voice betrayed her. "This was for you, your future, our name." Before Lucas could grasp the enormity of her words, the men in dark suits emerged from their hidden corners, advancing with purpose. Their expressions were cold, calculating. "Get away from him!" one of them shouted, brandishing a weapon. The sirens blared louder, but they felt distant, echoing like a dying heartbeat. Lucas felt himself step back, adrenaline sparking through him. In that instant, something inside him twisted. "You're lying." He was trying to help. "You're the one corrupting everything." Enough! His mother barked, reaching into her handbag. A flash of metal caught the light. Lucas's breath hitched. She pulled out a gun, aimed it straight at him. You will not ruin this for us! His world collapsed. A sickening weight settled in his chest. It felt unreal. Everything felt unreal. Mom, please don't. Then, a truth like lightning struck. I'm not just your son. I'm not just Lucas. The world around him shifted again, as the hazy edges of his life flickered with sudden clarity. David's secret slashed through his mind, and a staggering realization cut deeper than any wound. Lucas, David whispered, blood seeping through his lips. You're not just... And then, without warning, everything erupted. The dark suits lunged forward as Lucas's mother pulled the trigger. A deafening bang. The moment stretched, and he could only watch, frozen, as if the world had slowed to a crawl. Then the shock. David's eyes widened with a terrible truth, brimming with secrets, revelations poised on the edge of death. All its weight hung in the air, charged with an irrevocable shift. Mom, what have you done? But the answer shifted like shadows. Time snapped back, screams repealing reality. And something primal surged within Lucas. This night would change him forever. He turned and ran, the last shred of his childhood burning behind him. Into the darkness, the secrets waiting to unfold. The sirens closing in, the truth behind twisted ties still lies in the shadows. What was he? What had he become? And the question hung heavy in the night. Who was he really? The message buzzed in his pocket, a silent alarm, pulling Lucas deeper into the storm of confusion. Meet me where it all began. He glanced at David, who stood watching him with a look that was almost pleading. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. This wasn't just about the gala, and it definitely wasn't about whispers. This was something darker. The crowd swirled, laughter and chatter masking an undercurrent of tension, gossamer thread of something sinister woven through the night. Lucas could feel his mother's stare, scorching into his back, measuring every second he lingered. Fire ignited in his chest. He had to know. Where? Lucas breathed, heart racing as he felt the eyes of the world on them. David looked around, taking in the sea of faces. Then he leaned closer. You know the old factory, the one by the river? Midnight. Come alone. His heart sputtered. That grim place, long abandoned, haunted with memories he didn't want to touch. But before he could respond, a commotion erupted. A sudden silence washed over the room. All eyes snapped to the far end, where a figure stumbled in. Breathless and wild-eyed. Elon Musk! Someone yelled, clutching a champagne flute, oblivious to the chaos growing around him. And there he was, Elon, tousled and frantic, rushing toward the center of the gala. I need a moment. It's urgent, he shouted, attracting every eye in the room, including Lucas's. Swirling whispers morphed into a cacophony as confusion turned to anticipation. What was happening? Then, without warning, a loud bang shattered the air. A firework-like flash erupted from a side door. Blinding lights reflecting off polished marble floors. Gasps echoed. People flinched, hands going to their mouths. Is it a bomb? Someone screamed, But as the smoke cleared, the sight was far more shocking. There, in the haze, stood not just the man, but a young girl next to him, sobbing uncontrollably, her shirt stained, dirt on her face. "It's my sister!" she suddenly yelled, pointing at Lucas, her eyes wide with panic and recognition. "Lucas! They took her! Find her!" Time froze. Lucas stumbled backward, his world tilting on its axis. His sister? He hadn't seen her in years. Last he knew, she was safe. Far away from this mess. "What are you talking about?" "Who took her? Who?" The air crackled with disbelief. His mother's face drained of color, while murmurs ricocheted through the crowd, a collective gasp echoing in the stillness. The atmosphere shifted. The crowd's attention now split between the chaos of the celebrity and the terrified girl clutching her arm tightly. "You don't get it!" she cried, tears streaming, desperation overflowing. "They said it's your family. You have to help me. They're using her as bait." Lucas felt sick. All the walls he built around his life splintered open, exposing secrets and betrayal. David's eyes locked on him, truth hidden in that heavy gaze. And when Lucas looked back at his family, the fear turned to fury. His mother's controlling grip on their name, their money, their world, it meant nothing now. "I need to go," he said, voice steady, heart racing. Panic settled like a stone in his gut, but David's hand shot out, gripping his arm. "Lucas, you don't understand. This goes deeper than you think." The revelation cracked the air like thunder. The floor beneath them felt unsteady, and as the pandemonium erupted again, Lucas felt the weight of everything he thought he knew about himself. His family and his reality teeter on the brink. Would he step into the shadows, confront the monsters lurking there? Or would the glittering facade of his life continue to fracture and fall apart? He took a breath, the deep sense of dreadful uncertainty filling the room like smoke. The night was a tangled web, and the truth was only beginning to surface. The message blinked on Lucas's phone like a beacon in a storm. "There's more. Worse. Meet me where it all began." His heart raced. What was waiting for him? With the gala spinning around him, every laugh felt hollow, every clink of champagne glasses sharp and cutting. "Lucas," his mother's voice sliced through the tension, sharp as glass. "You can't just stand there. What are you thinking?" But he only had eyes for David, that rough-hewn man who once walked the same halls as he did, who now bore the weight of secrets in his gaze. Lucas's pulse quickened. The moment stretched, heavy between them, like the silence right before thunder. "Are you really going to trust him?" whispered a friend, sneering from the side. "He's just a washed-up nobody." "No!" Lucas shot back, defiance igniting a fire deep inside. "He's not nobody. He's important." The words felt like defiance, yet also a confession. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the far side of the room. The crowd turned instinctively, gasps rippling through like electricity. Lucas's stomach dropped. A glass had shattered. People scrambled, adrenaline crackling. Then chaos erupted. "Look!" someone shouted. In the center of the commotion, a man dressed in rags leapt onto a platform, eyes wild and frantic. "Trust no one," he screamed. "They're coming for you." The hall fell silent. Lucas could feel his heart thudding louder than ever. Fear crept in, curling around his spine. "What are you talking about?" "They're here, the people who ended everything." The man was shaking. his voice rising in desperation. "They'll take you down unless you stand together. What are you, some kind of lunatic?" Lucas' friends scoffed, but doubt flickered in others' eyes. David stepped forward, his expression unreadable, eyes connected to Lucas's. "You need to listen." "Why?" shouted another partygoer. "Who are you?" Before David could reply, the raving man continued. "You think money buys safety? It doesn't. It only buys a target." Lucas felt a chill. The words cut through the electric air, wrapping around his mind like vines. He turned to David. "What's going on? What does he mean?" David opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the lights flickered. A woman's voice broke through the tension, cool and calm, emanating from somewhere high above the crowd. "Lucas, we know you're here. We see you." Everyone looked up, mouths agape. A figure appeared, her silhouette framed by floodlights. It was Sophia, his half-sister. Her face was a mask of anger, blending with something colder. Fear? "Get away from him!" she yelled, pointing at David. "You don't know what he's done." Gasps echoed through the room, whispers of "sister" rippling like shock waves. Lucas's brain spun. What did she mean? What was David hiding? "No," Lucas whispered, eyes flicking back to David, trying to make sense of it all. But David stepped back, eyes wide with a mix of betrayal and regret. "I didn't want you to know," he said. Lucas's chest tightened. Every breath felt heavy, filled with darkness. Something twisted in his gut. The air around him felt suffocating. Secrets and lies danced like shadows, lurking just beyond the light. "Lucas!" His mother's voice broke through the chaos. "You don't get involved with this!" But it was too late. Lucas felt a crack, a sudden fracture in his world. Everything teetered on the edge. David took a step closer. "Lucas, listen to me. The truth is worse than you can imagine." And just like that, the lights dimmed, the crowd shifted, a murmur sweeping through like a storm. Lucas felt the pull of the unknown dragging him deeper. The night was far from over, and everything he believed was about to unravel. Was he ready? His heart raced, anxiety unfurling in his chest. Who could he trust? And what secrets awaited him in the dark? The night seemed to hold its breath. Lucas could feel the weight of David's words hanging between them. Dense and pulsating like a living thing. Everything around him faded. The glittering chandeliers above, the whispers of the crowd, the clinking of crystal glasses. All that existed was that moment, charged with unspoken truths. But then, a flash of movement caught Lucas's eye. His mother. She had risen, her elegant figure suddenly losing its poise. Among the shocked gasps was a distinct sound of shattering glass. More eyes turned. A harsh, jagged edge cut through the gala's elegance. "Stop!" she shrieked, voice a jagged knife slicing through the tension. The chaos that erupted after her command felt explosive. Guests turned to see what had happened, eyes wide with curiosity. But Lucas felt the air change. A figure stumbled into view, his face pale, blood seeping from a gash on his forehead. It was Blake, Lucas's older brother, a once charismatic college athlete turned entitled cynic. This wasn't the entrance anyone expected. The room quieted to a whisper. Blake's body slumped against the bar. He gasped, clutching his side. He's dead! The words hung heavy, drawing gasps from the packed room. Confusion rippled like a stone thrown into a still pond. Who? Lucas's heart hammered as he felt the world tilt. He couldn't focus. Derek! Blake barely managed, his breath shallow and shaking. I didn't mean to. He was... Lucas's mind raced. Derek? The name echoed painfully. Derek, a former friend, now turned foe. What could Blake have done? Images flashed in Lucas's mind. Pranks turned vicious. Betrayals that shaped their lives. The energy shifted, the crowd buzzing with a mix of fear and anticipation. Faces morphed from surprise to horror. Whispers filled the air, spiraling out of control. He's dead? How did it happen? Murder? Lucas felt a tightening in his chest. All those secrets they buried, and now, did they lead to this? The smile he wore felt like a mask slipping. David's piercing gaze seemed to know the truth. The man had been through hell and back. Had he known Derek too? Blake pulled himself closer to Lucas, desperation in his eyes. You have to believe me. I didn't do it. I swear. The panic was real, and suddenly the weight of their family's name felt unbearably heavy. Murder? The word echoed dangerously. A thought hit Lucas like a punch. Could this somehow be tied to their father? The offshore accounts? The lies? Everything was tangled now. All the whispers swirling around their family. Was this the storm they'd been waiting for? David, watching from a distance, seemed caught between pity and something darker. Lucas, he said softly, urgency in his voice, if you want answers about your father, you need to know what really happened to Derek. Then, without warning, the sound of sirens pierced through the chaos outside. Red and blue lights flickering ominously. The night's dark gravity pulled everyone, all eyes shifting to the entrance. Lucas felt it, the ground beneath him trembling, relationships shattering like glass, exposure lurking just outside the door. He needed to push for more answers, but how could he when everything he thought he knew was unraveling? The sirens grew louder, and as reality crashed in, Lucas could only ponder who was really in danger now. Everything hung in the balance, a precarious moment just before a great fall. The night was far from over. The sirens blared, echoing against the night, creating a soundtrack to chaos. The realization of Blake's words slammed into Lucas like a freight train. Derek was dead. Panic surged through the crowd, eyes darting. Each face he turned to wore the same mask of shock. But then, just as confusion began to settle in, a massive crash reverberated through the parking lot. The thick glass doors of the gala exploded outward, splintering into shards that glimmered like scattered stars. People shrieked and stumbled back, hands thrown up in instinctive protection. "Get down!" someone screamed, and panic swelled. A figure burst forth, silhouette slicing through the chaos. It was a man in a dark coat, face obscured by shadows. He moved like a predator blending into the night, and the crowd tensed, holding its breath. Lucas felt a sharp prick of fear, heartbeat racing in tune with the sirens. Who was this? "Out of my way!" he shouted, voice gritty and commanding, and he pushed through the reeling guests like a force of nature. Lucas wanted to move, but his feet felt glued to the ground. The scene unfolding around him, too surreal to process. Then, with one deliberate motion, the stranger pulled a gun from beneath his coat. Gasps echoed, and a collective shiver ran through the gathering. His aim was precise, steady. Lucas's heart stopped. "Lucas!" "No!" screamed his mother, voice shrill and frantic. But the man wasn't pointing the gun at her. It was aimed squarely at Blake. "Stay away from him," the unnamed man warned, the menace palpable. Panic morphed the crowd into a swirling mass of fear, everyone retreating, backing away from something dark and dangerous. Blake's eyes widened, realization washing over his face. "Wait! I didn't mean to," Blake began, but his words were cut off by a gravelly laugh from the man in black. "Didn't mean to?" he sneered. "You thought you could just walk away, didn't you? All those years of playing the golden boy, while others—" He trailed off, and in that instant, Lucas felt something shift. A wave of recognition washed over him. Time slowed as moments flashed in his mind. Whispered conversations, secrets pushed beneath the surface. Derek's face, twisted with betrayal. It was all connected. "What do you know?" Lucas whispered, stepping forward without realizing it. Blake's panic turned to anger. "Don't! You don't know what he's capable of." But it was too late. The man smirked, eyes glinting dangerously. "Oh, I know plenty, Blake. Like the fact that you're not the golden child you pretend to be." With that, he fired a shot into the air. The sound, deafening, shattering the moment. Everyone froze, fear blanketing the scene thick as fog. The bullet ricocheted against metal, sending everyone into a frenzy. Lucas saw his mother lurch forward, her eyes wide with horror. "Run!" she screamed, shoving against the crowd, trying to make some sense of the chaos. Then, as if the universe conspired for more madness, a figure emerged from the throng. It was Sophia, appearing like a ghost, eyes alight with fury. "Get away from my brother!" she shrieked, and in her hand glinted a knife, glimmering under the party lights. "Wait! No!" Lucas yelled, desperate. But it was too late. The scene spiraled, unfolding in a surge of violence. In that instant, a blinding realization struck him. Sophia wasn't just his sister. Underneath the rage and desperation, a chance connection ignited something darker. The stranger turned to Sophia, eyes narrowing. "You want him, sweetheart?" he taunted. "You're just as filthy." And with one swift motion, he tackled Blake to the ground. The air filled with screams. Lucas's heart pounded hard, every beat screaming for action. Confusion blurred lines, pulling at every relationship he thought he understood. Then came a deafening roar, the sound of an approaching vehicle. Shadows flickered, revealed in the flashing lights. Lucas's eyes widened. The night was becoming a battleground, and he stood at the center, clinging to secrets, tangled in lies, and realizations crashing like waves. What was happening? Why were they all tied together in this twisted drama? Lucas could feel the threads of his reality unraveling, and he had just a heartbeat to make a choice. The darkness was closing in, and everything he believed was about to shatter into pieces. Was there a way out? Or was this just the start of something far worse? The sirens blared, echoing into the night, creating a chaotic soundtrack to the unfolding drama. Lucas felt the tension thick in the air, eyes darting between Blake's panic and the man in black with the gun. The crowd felt like a box constricting around him, closing in with every heartbeat. "Stay back," the man warned. Gun steady, anger radiating from every tense muscle. The urgency of the moment surged, drowning out reason. Lucas looked frantically between the stranger, his brother, and his sister, Sophia, who was wild-eyed and still gripping that knife. "Please, just put the gun down," Lucas pleaded, hands raised. He needed clarity, needed calm, but chaos ruled the night. The man in black laughed, a hollow sound that cut through the screams around them. He took a step closer, eyes locked on Blake. Some mistakes can't be fixed, and some people deserve what's coming. Suddenly, there was a flash, something whizzing through the air. Lucas's heart dropped as he caught the movement out of the corner of his eye. A figure lunged, another person, crashing past the cloud like a comet. The impact sent shockwaves through the gala, scattering guests like leaves caught in a storm. Before he could comprehend it fully, a booming voice rose above the chaos, piercing his consciousness. "Enough!" It was David. He charged forward, grabbing the man in black, unyielding as steel. The sudden twist of action caught them all off guard. Lucas barely processed the exciting shift when, with a flash of motion, David was thrown back. The man grinned, face taut, eyes glinting with malice. And then came the sickening drop of the unexpected. The sound of another gunshot rang out. The force echoed through him like a pulse, and time slowed. Lucas followed the path of the bullet as if suspended in liquid, panic clawing at his chest. David stumbled back, hand clutching his abdomen. Lucas froze. "No!" The world swayed as confusion and shock crashed into him like a wave. David dropped to the floor, blood pooling beneath him. The cries from the crowd morphed into a high-pitched hum, a distant chorus of dismay. "David!" Lucas's voice broke, a raw scream tearing at his throat. He rushed forward, panic igniting his limbs. He had trusted this man, sought answers. What had just unfolded? Then a deafening crack filled the space. In a stunning moment of clarity, Lucas turned to see his mother, face a mask of surprise, lowering her weapon. The realization crashed over him like a tidal wave. The mother he thought he knew was tangled in all this. "Mom, what are you doing?" The words were strangled. Confusion shattered the air between them. "Don't you see?" She turned her fierce gaze back to him. "This was for you." The urgency in her voice twisted his gut. He felt betrayed, lost in a sea of mistrust and hurt. With every passing second, the truth became sharper. But then Blake stepped forward, face pale, jaw set. Why would you do this?" Suddenly, the man in black lunged at Blake, but something unexpected happened. David, still gasping, moved instinctively, shoving Blake behind him. A defiance flickered to life. "You don't get to hurt him!" Another shot rang out. A third this time, and Lucas's heart dropped, sheer terror washing over him. Everything was spiraling, the calamity overwhelming. But then, the shock of deeper betrayal struck. Lucas stared as David slowly turned, eyes wild. The look was one layered with both pain and revelation. "Lucas, I didn't just come to help you." Each word was a knife, cutting through the chaos like a silent scream. "What?" Lucas faltered, breath getting caught in his throat. And then the truth fell like the largest of bombs. David leaned heavily against a table, face ashen, voice trembling. "I'm your father." Time stopped. Heavy silence hit like a freight train. Lucas's mind reeled, grappling with the cascade of emotions crashing inside him. The structure of his life shattered, crumbling into dust. No, that's not possible. The words came out as a desperate whisper. A flurry of murmurs erupted around them. Faces churned to see, shock blanketing the crowd. Relationships shifted. Trust hinged on the precipice of betrayal. And as Lucas felt the very foundation of his world shatter, another realization struck him. The lies, the legacy, their family, tied together by darkness and deception. Everything he knew was a carefully polished lie. The night was far from over. The truth hung heavy in the air. A storm, brewing with consequences yet unknown. What would it mean now for Lucas? What ties united him with this broken man? What shattered future awaited him? Lucas's heart raced as David's confession hung in the air like a dark cloud. The world around him blurred, the cries of his family and guests fading into a haunting echo. "You're my father?" The words felt foreign, a harsh reality crashing down all at once. Truth and betrayal danced together in his mind, weaving a bitter tapestry he struggled to comprehend. "I didn't want this for you," David gasped, clutching his wound as blood seeped through his fingers. "The truth was too dangerous. I tried to protect you." "No, you've only made it worse." Lucas shot back, anger igniting a fire inside him. He felt a tightness in his chest as the chaos around them slipped into slow motion. His mother stood frozen, eyes wide, disbelief etched across her face. "No!" she screamed, desperation creeping into her voice. "This isn't happening. You're being manipulated, Lucas." The panic in her tone ignited something primal. But Lucas looked only at David. "What have you done?" The question burned bright, filled with sorrow and betrayal. Before David could answer, another shot rang out. A gasp soared through the crowd. Ho 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 ho! Lucas turned just in time to see Sophia tumble to the ground, knife slipping from her fingers, terror etched into her face. Time spiraled. Everything felt surreal. "No!" Blake screamed, lunging toward his sister, but chaos erupted. Guests were screaming and darting for safety. The hall fractured into a cacophony of panic. "Mom!" he shouted, reaching for her, but she was already backing away, face twisting into cold resolve. "Run! Get out!" Lucas felt frozen, bound by the weight of truth, a gripping fear enveloping him. "No! Stop!" he shouted at his family, torn between the urge to help and the overwhelming chaos. The wall of silence in his mind crumbled, and he realized he couldn't stay here anymore. "Lucas!" David rasped, pushing himself off the ground, voice soaked with urgency. "You have to go! Find the truth!" With a last look at David, he took a step back. His chest tightened, fury coursing through his veins. All the lies, the manipulation, the secrets. He wouldn't let them trap him any longer. He turned, running toward the shattered exit. Every step felt like pushing through fog as despair clawed at his heart. The blaring sirens outside merged with screams inside, a discordant reminder of the life he was leaving behind. He burst through the door, the cool night air hitting him like a wave. It felt like freedom. In the distance, interrogation lights pulsed like stars. As he sprinted away from the cacophony, the gravel crunched beneath his feet, his mind racing ahead, searching for answers. Where would he go? The world felt disorienting, dark corners and shadows lurking in every crevice of the past. But he would search. He had to uncover the truth. He pressed forward, feeling both lost and determined, the night stretching into an unknown horizon. He would piece together the fragments of his life, chase the remnants of a shattered family, and carve out a future free from the chains of deceit. And then, suddenly, he stopped. Behind him, the gala lights flickered, reflecting chaos. And in that moment, he realized he wasn't alone in this quest. ... He had David, Sophia, even Blake, if they could break free from the shadows. But would they? The question hung in the air, unanswered, as Lucas turned toward the city lights. Hope surged, faint yet real. What lay ahead was uncertain, but he felt an ember ignite within him, a new path waiting to be forged, a truth yearning to be uncovered. The night was just beginning. And before you go, listen up. You have to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the thrilling, exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support this journey. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. What do you think happened next? And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this explosive finale. Let's build this community together.